next keynote, and it's a very interesting one, is going to be someone who is going to be speaking for the unspoken. And the session is going to be led by Rekha Raghunathan, who is CEO of India Animal Fund, a backbone organization aiming to build a robust ecosystem for animal welfare in the country. Her pet peeve is in 2 decades of social impact work is the massive asymmetry between social issues and general awareness levels. She believes that this can change with creative communication, powerful storytelling, and the support of media channels. And that is why she's here. Her session is titled, The Story of the 2 Billion You've Never Heard Before. Ladies and gentlemen, Rekha.
2 billion. That's 200 crores for those of us here. What is this 2 billion? It's not GDP. It's not trading volumes. It's definitely not my bank balance. But what it is lives. Have a look at this. This is just in India. 2 billion animals raised for consumption annually. Look at the statistics and how it compares to human populations. Why don't we know their story? They're invisible. And that's why I'm here today in front of all of you PR folks, hoping that this talk will really make a difference. There's 3 reasons why I'm telling this story today. The first is that it's been severely underreported. Consumers have no idea about the ramifications to their personal health. The second, anything to do with animals is always viewed from an emotional perspective. It is not viewed at all from a strategic perspective, despite connections with ESG goals, CSR, social investment, all of it. And the third, animal welfare has always been treated in a silo, with no connections made with sustainability, education, climate, and health. All of these are CSR themes, by the way. Have a look at these stories. These are regular headlines, and you might have read them, but you never make a connection that the 3 are interconnected. I invite you now to just close your eyes. Just close your eyes for a few seconds. Please humor me. I can see all of you in the front. Please close your eyes. And just let me know what you can think of, what you visualize when you hear the word farm. If you want to call out some answers, that's fine. Otherwise, I'm going to wager what you might be thinking. Anyone want to say? Yeah. Green fields? Yes. In the front, brown. A poultry farm? Okay. Sudhit Patil's farm? Okay. Yes. The book Animal Farm, okay. Eggs. Great. I was waiting to hear green fields, water bodies, maybe depending on which country you grew up in, a farmer with overalls. Those who grew up in India, maybe somebody with a turban. Punjab is known for its farms. Can I ask you to close your eyes one more time? Please, just one more time. And please think of a really hot day. Just imagine it's a horribly hot day, and I don't know, you're in Bombay, and you have to get into the local train. You're in the train, just surrounded by people. You can't move. Yeah? Or think of yourself in an elevator. It's packed. You just want to get out. You can open your eyes now. That's farmed, factory farmed, and that's what it means. But don't worry, I don't have any graphic. I have nothing graphic here at all, right? But why do you think we don't know about factory farmed animals? How many of you here have dogs? Cats? How many of you have experienced the love, hunger? You see so many things, right? Dogs come up to you, they lick you, they're running around, they're playing with you. Cats are a different story, but you still feel it when, at least you feel their annoyance. If you're trying to irritate them, they'll scratch you. What is it that they feel? What is that called? It's called sentience. Animals are sentient beings, all animals, right? But we don't know about animals that are factory farmed. We don't know about chicken, cows, pigs. Why don't we know about them? Because they're invisible. We just don't know. They are sentient beings too. So before you think that, my God, I'm not going to get any meat at this event, no. This is not a plea to ask you to stop eating meat or drinking milk. It's not about that. But it is to make you pause and to notice something. Something that we all know and we understand in other contexts, but we don't apply it when we think about food. We've gone from eating locally, eating seasonally, eating naturally, to industrial, global, and hence invisible. We understand all of this. How many times have you heard, oh, you shouldn't be eating food out of a packet? Why do people say that? Because you don't know what's in your packet. You have no idea what's gone into making it. Earlier on, we've been eating meat for millennia, right? But you had your local farmer who grew that meat. You actually saw somebody raise that animal, take care of that animal, and when it was time to kill that animal, they killed the animal humanely. We were all part of such a system. But that's gone away with industrialization, globalization, the world's gotten, flatter, wider, all of those things. We've gone from farmer to farmed. And we haven't even realized it. We don't realize it on a day-to-day basis. Language matters. Remember what Adrian said, Mr. Baker and Baker. What does that evoke? A baker gives you so many memories. You think of so many things. You're able to smell, you're able to taste, all of that just from one word. Mr. Baker doesn't do anything. Farmed animal is just protein. And we're in this mad race for protein consumption, fueled by so many things, right? Slaughterhouse is a processing plant these days. Numbers. Look at these numbers for a few minutes, and I'll talk a little bit more about it. Chicken mature in 28 days, not 3 months, okay? Hens lay 300 eggs a year. They used to lay 20. This together is an A4 size. Their entire lives are spent standing in an A4 size paper. They can't open their wings. Cows are milked using, people here have heard of the breast pump. They're milked using a breast pump for all their lives, for 6 years. They're actually meant to live to be 20, but they don't make it because they're just milked beyond anything that they can manage. And look at I don't know how much you read of your ingredients in your food packets. Milk, whey, paneer, cheese, milk solids. That's a secret ingredient that we don't even realize has crept into our food packets. Almost even mixture packets like Haldirams and all of that have milk solids in them. Why does this happen? Why do we need milk solids in everything? It happens because there's so much supply and they have to do something with all the leftovers made from making all the cheese and all the byproducts. What about health indicators? Everything's on the rise. But what are we being told? You need more protein. Protein will fix everything. And what do? We consume more and more of the same thing. So why is it that you haven't heard about all of this for so long? Why is it that nobody has engaged with this topic? All of y'all, you're in PR. I've worked in the social impact sector. I've worked for 20 years. I've worked in such interdisciplinary spaces, never heard of farmed animals until I joined India Animal Fund. The reason is, most of the time, people will come up to you and make you feel bad. Like, are you eating meat? That's horrible. You're a bad person. You should go vegan immediately. These are the kinds of messages that people hear. And it becomes problematic because it fragments the movement. You immediately push people like that away and say, I don't want to engage with this person. And we just move away from the message behind what they're saying. And of course, the second reason is, we can blame everything on capitalism, right? This is one more. Capitalism loves consumption. More eggs, more dairy, more byproducts, more revenue. So we have an idea how to change this. We want to transform animal welfare into a social justice movement. And we want to do that by raising awareness and by unifying voices beyond the movement. Animal welfare has been always in a silo, and we want to take it out from here into boardrooms, classrooms, newsrooms, and living rooms. Why? Because it's not just about the animals, it's about us. Whom do we target in such a large country? Gen Z. Enough people have spoken about it. You folks are the ones who are doing all the research on this. You know how they consume. So we're actually designing a campaign. The difference in animal welfare is nobody will engage if you show a real animal in anything, because it's too painful for us. And by nature, we are compassionate. We have forced ourselves to move away from that. The second lot that we're targeting is top 1% of society. And what is that? It's not just a demographic for money, but these are people who have a huge amount of influence. They can influence decisions top down and really create ripples. So we're targeting them. These are CXOs, bureaucrats, senior leaders, celebrities. There are so many celebrity vegan athletes, for example. Virat Kohli, one of them. And the last is people that you know very well, is the media. This is the power of media. People like you took smoking from cool to cancerous. You took women's rights from silence to suffrage, AIDS from shame to solidarity, and climate conversations from denial to daily conversations. That's really powerful, what I've written at the bottom there. When PR shifts culture, the world changes. You have the power to do it. Have a look at this slide. This is all in the last century. Social justice movements. We have slavery, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, and we have animal freedom written there as a hope. All of these were inconvenient small truths. That's all they were. It's folks like you who gave it a voice, and you made it an unstoppable narrative. It changed culture. And that is what we are hoping for animal freedom too. And of course, we have 2047 in there, which is Viksit Bharat. Louis Bollard is a farmed animal welfare champion. He's part of an organization called Open Philanthropy, and someone we follow very closely. He said in a TED Talk recently, in the age of AI, we will face a choice, a test of our humanity. Will we use that power to factory farm ever more animals, or will we use it to end this cruelty? The power is in our hands. It's one story to tell. 2 billion lives, infinite futures. How will we tell this story now? I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you for listening to me.
Rekha, may I invite Sharmistha Ghosh Solomon, Senior VP at Avian We.
Wow, Rekha, thank you so much for bringing such an important issue. I'm startled by the facts that you shared just now. If I really talk about, I just can't think at hens that were laying eggs naturally. 300 eggs in a year, is unbelievable. If we talk about the farm animals, it's a story of 2 billion farm animals annually. But their living conditions are so poor, it is not just impacting animal health. Looking at the interconnectedness with health and environment in particular, it is impacting environment as well as human health and food safety as well. But why is the awareness so low? You just spoke about your career in the social impact space for more than 20 decades. Still, you discovered this when you joined the organization. So it would be good to understand your perspective on this.
Sure. I think the biggest reason why awareness on animals is low is because we only encounter community animals. Our understanding of animal rights, animal welfare, all of that starts and ends with dogs and cats. And factory farms it's directly linked to changes that we have to make, to our consumption patterns, to how much we consume, and to the kinds of things that we consume. In that context, I'll just mention, animals that are used in testing in labs. There is so much more engagement. If I came and said to you, hey, would you use a product that wasn't tested on animals? 100% you'd say yes. Because the minute you hear that that an animal is being tested on in a lab, you know that they're being tortured. We are able to make that connection because we hear the word lab. But we are not able to make that connection when we think of our food. We just don't see the source, and that's what's gone missing in the whole global chain. And like I said in my point, capitalism ensures that we stay on that machine, we consume more. Evidence, we spoke about data, evidence, research. A lot of that is actually created by companies to sell their products. But unless folks like yourself actually know what's behind the scenes, you won't even know what story to tell people. And therefore, you see fragmented narratives being reported.
You spoke so much about human beings being naturally compassionate, and that truly resonated with me as an individual. You also emphasized on the fact that compassionate storytelling or emotional storytelling will truly be the lever of change. How do you think we can marry the data with the emotional storytelling to build systemic reforms?
Yeah, I'm actually hoping for answers from this room. No, but you're right. It needs to be a coming together of data and compassion. I think all of us innately, as a species, human beings have a whole lot of compassion. But animal welfare, animal protection has always only been viewed in this emotional manner. The minute we start making linkages with ESG goals, with climate, someone mentioned COP just now, Dana mentioned COP, and the amount of emissions. Animal agriculture counts for 60% of emissions globally. But nobody knows that fact, or it's one of those things, I think Adrian said it, narratives on green are usually shushed. So what power do folks like you have? Because unless you tell that story, it's just not going to reach other people.
You also spoke about the conversations in the boardroom. And with your experience of so many years in the social impact space and interacting with donors and the overall philanthropic ecosystem, where do you see animal welfare as compared to other thematic areas in the ESG goals of different organizations across the spectrum?
Nowhere, actually. We don't see it at all. But thankfully, because of the work that we've been doing now systematically over the last few years, we are starting to engage in conversations with CSR folks, with ESG folks, and say, integrate this into your targets. And what that means could be something as simple as, I will go cage-free in my supply chain, which means I won't just buy from anybody. I will ensure that the hens are kept in a cage-free facility. But let me tell you that even doing that doesn't mean that the hen is hanging about like in our imagination of a farm. It's not. It's just it's in a better condition. But people are open to it. We have had some success in integrating things like that because we also work with a lot of partners who are able to enable companies to find that supply chain, because it's not easy. As a consumer today, if you said, you know what, I want to know where I can go and buy, cruelty-free meat and cruelty-free eggs, it's not such a simple answer. And I think that's where some of our efforts are also going, because we need to connect demand and supply if this is actually going to be sustainable. Because right now it's not. There is an asymmetry in that too.
That was my follow-up question. If a conscious meat eater or a conscious consumer wants to have a checklist handy that will enable the person to make the right choice, is there something which is available or you could maybe put spotlight on? I know it's a supply chain issue, but something that you could help.
Yeah, I know for eggs there's a platform called Farmazin, there's a brand called Happy Hens. I mean, I'll find out a couple more for you. But these are, Big Basket too does cage-free eggs. But for meat, it's not that simple. You know, I referred to cruelty-free cosmetics. I don't know how many of you have been, you know, seen the toiletries that are there in the showers in this hotel. There is a symbol that says cruelty-free and vegan. That's not, it's not a standard symbol. It's something that brands have started using, but there is no standard like that. There is no government-issued standard at all. But I don't know, hopefully with enough of a push, we will actually move towards something where there's a symbol that indicates that at least this animal has been raised humanely, killed humanely. They've already started that in other parts of the world. I think Sweden was the latest one to introduce that. So you'll actually see on top of the packet that you're buying that this is how this animal was stunned and killed humanely. The minute you see something like that, I guess it can do two things. One is you can look at it and say, my God, like, I don't want to eat this, even if it's humane. Or you can say, you know what, I feel better eating it because it's done humanely. Either works. Because what we feel is that the more people become aware that this is not protein, this is actually a sentient being, you will slowly start to reduce what you consume and how much of it you consume.
Yes, we have all seen how front of package labeling has enabled consumers to take the right direction when it comes to their own health, because it clearly declares the baddies in the food.
Yeah.
If something like that could be done by the regulatory affair about animal welfare, that would really be a game changer.
You have to help us.
We also spoke this evening about the sensitivity to socioeconomic and cultural context, you know, the history, which is crucial to defining inclusive messaging and, you know, avoiding alienation. What's your view about the marginalized communities and their consumption pattern?
You know, they actually bear the biggest brunt of this, and unfortunately that's not the narrative that we're told, right? We usually hear, oh, you know, people who are vegan, people who eat plant-based, they all belong to upper caste. They're all socioeconomically very well off. The number of issues that we see with people who work in slaughterhouses, people who work in tanneries, they have severe PTSD issues, so many issues, because they are constantly killing. It takes such a big toll on them. Nobody talks about that. Instead, we just talk about what comes at the bottom line. The other part of this is also for our farmers. A lot of them have animal-based livelihoods. And most of those people are given a cow, they can't even feed themselves. So they're not able to feed the cow. So at some point, if you go to certain parts of India, maybe like Madhya Pradesh, Northeast and all of that, you'll see so many animals just left on the streets just because people can't feed them. True. So then what happens? Either they die on their own, or, you know, you just put them away somewhere, they're killed, and that meat goes into the packaged food chain, which usually is for dogs and cats, the packaged food that's made. So I think maybe one of our goals, at least, is to work with the government to have a plant protein mission. You know, I always hear the word, oh my God, I'm not going to eat soy because it's genetically modified. Right. Just think about what you heard today. 300 eggs instead of 20. And a chicken that's growing to full maturity in 4 weeks. Just 4 weeks instead of 3 months. Is that not genetically modified? We have to pause, and this is where, you know, that thing of language matters. It is so important. We believe everything that we're told. So we have to tell the right story, so people will make the right decisions as well.
Coming to people, youth have been at the front line of social change, and we have seen that more recently in the current geopolitical situation. How do you think Gen Z, Gen Alpha perceive animal rights as of today, and what motivates their action?
I mean, you folks know that behavior is the best. What we have understood in our research is Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they all want to do the right thing. You know, I think, but they don't know where to go. I don't think they know what to do. So one of the initiatives that we're doing as part of India Karuna Collaborative is to drive traffic. All of these kids, somebody said that they look at their Instagram 10 times a day. It's probably like 100 times a day. So we are starting with the Digital First campaign, and they are our target because they are the future consumers. And, their parents are millennials who are, somewhere in between, I guess, in between, say, my generation and Gen Z. So it's, we are really hoping that Gen Z will pick up on this messaging because our campaign is not preaching to them. It's not telling them, you have to be this because this is the best way to be or this is good for your health. It's going to, drop relevant, sarcastic content to them in a way that they would like to consume. So we are really hopeful that that will make an impact. And that coupled with what we're hoping will come out of the engagement with the top 1% and with media folks, all of that has to come together to, start changing this equation and hopefully bringing demand and supply together as well.
Talking about messaging and validating the authenticity of information, we spent a considerable amount of time this afternoon talking about AI. How do you think AI can play a role in creating more awareness, reaching the last mile, and also in the surveillance effort?
So there's so many initiatives going on with AI. We are actually working with a couple of organizations who build tools only for the animal advocacy movement in AI. We are also developing, we run a humane education program which goes out to the K-12 ecosystem, so kindergarten through 12, age-appropriate curriculum to teach children about compassion. Because we don't go into schools and say you should be vegan. No, it is about understanding that animals are sentient beings, that's it. And we stop at that. So obviously with a country like India, there's no way that we can go with a human interaction and cover everybody. So we're developing AI tool, something called Coach Karuna. It's in the works right now. We're testing it. It's got so much material that's been fed into it and in an age-appropriate manner. So a child is profiled. They'll be able to answer questions based on what the child will ask. So that's another one. AI, infovalence has become a big one. People are building tools that can actually go into these slaughterhouses which supposedly follow standards and report back on that because people can't do it. They won't even give you access. So AI is really helpful in things like that, yeah.
So given the economic, environmental, and ethical complexities, what do you think would be the next big win in the area of animal welfare in the next 1 decade?
I would say that ESG integration will make a massive change because it can, there's already a lot of hotel chains, supermarket chains that have signed up to go at least cage-free. And we have the systems in India. We work with somebody called Global Food Partners who runs a cage-free training system. And so they're able to integrate, bring farmers there, train them to do better. Because what we're saying is, I think earlier the messaging was, you got to stop eating meat. Now it's reached that point where you're saying, you know what, eat it, but please try and ensure that welfare standards are met. Be humane about your consumption. And I think the more people do that, the more it will go back into the supply chain and it will make a difference.
Thank you, Rekha. Animals are sentient beings, but we don't consider farm animals. When we think of animals in general, they are sentient too. Thank you so much for this enriching discussion.
Let's take a few questions. Yes.
Hello, hi.
Yeah.
Is there massive animal farming in India? Like it is, there is?
There is. 2 billion animals every year are raised for consumption.
And farmed like they are in the West?
Absolutely. Same exact thing.
So what is your view from antiquity? Humans have consumed meat over millennia. So if you have to replace it now by protein, I mean, we can all go to chatbot and see how do you replace meat protein with normal protein. Are you vegetarian?
I am. I'm vegan also.
Oh dear. Oh.
You don't have to feel so sad. It's not
double,
such a bad
a double
thing,
blow.
Sorry?
I said it's a double blow then.
For whom?
For you.
I think my health numbers are probably better than this. You want to take a test? I'm up for a blood check right away.
So how would you, and I'm being very serious here, practically, how would you replace, meat or chicken or prawns or blah, 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 with something that keeps you in such good health? This is coming from a Punjabi who eats meat.
Look, I grew up, my family's eaten meat. I grew up vegetarian. I think I was maybe 10 or 12 when I first had paneer. And it was the best thing I'd ever eaten. I was like, wow, this is amazing. But it was a delicacy then. We didn't get it as frequently.
Right.
Now, it's there in everything.
Right.
Even dosa. I mean, you know, why do you have to eat dosa with paneer? There's no reason for it. I think we have to go back and think about our consumption patterns, and that's why I said food is very local. You grew up in Punjab and you had farms. Your farms at the time that you grew up, or when, you know, as our history has evolved, was local. You didn't have a factory farm. You didn't have animals being injected with all sorts of antibiotics to get them to grow quickly just so that you could have more and more. And I think that's the awareness that we need. So if you knew that, would you still want to eat it? And it's a very personal choice. For me, it's not that important. For me, I'm an athlete. I've played tennis for the state of Tamil Nadu. I've played for the university. I've been fine. I train now also with kettlebells and things like that. I can probably take you on at a fight outside, but, you know. I'm just kidding. But all I'm saying, sorry. I'm just saying that you don't need meat. So, I mean, the only thing that I eat a little bit extra of is tofu, because I really like it. My kids don't like it, so they don't eat it. So, you know, it's a personal choice. I think we have to read enough, get educated enough for ourselves. Because I get that it's all cultural. It is cultural. I can't imagine anybody from Punjab saying, oh, you know, I'm happy to go, you know, I'll be vegan. No, of course not. But you'll have to then find good sources. That's really what it is, yeah.
Thank you for that wonderful, I think, presentation. Very different, very distinct, probably took me to the world where I think we should be thinking about bringing that. I'm an educationist. There's a huge medical world which actually promotes protein-based food. And then it is gone into the psyche of, I mean, all of us. That's one. And then when it comes to storytelling, there is emotional, you know, binding. How about the intuition that animals have towards the human world?
I didn't get the last part, I'm sorry.
Intuition, I think as storytelling has gone a lot of, I think as a child, I heard a lot of it where there is animals have intuitions, right? Cows have intuitions, dogs have intuitions. What's going to happen in that locality, or maybe natural calamities and things of that. Your thoughts on it?
Okay, so I'll answer the first question, which was on protein, right? And the whole protein craze. So there's a couple of things here. So one part of it is actually we're just trying to figure out, building out a study with a whole lot of trainers. Because trainers are a big reason. People, for some reason, you know, this is one of those things where nobody will go to their doctor. They prefer to go to a trainer and say, because the trainer is going to tell you, yeah, you need like 1.5 grams of protein for every kg of body fat if you lift weights. Where is this science coming from? This is similar to, you know, all your watches tell you got to walk 10,000 steps a day. Who came up with that number? Like, has anybody asked that question? Why is it not 12,000? Why is it not based on me? Why is it just a random number? This is one of those things. And we're also working with a group of doctors, medical doctors. There's an organization called the Physicians Association for Nutrition. And they are working on evidence with medical doctors on plant-based eating and living. You know, I'm guessing that a lot of people will be going, oh my God, you know, that's propaganda. You know, call it what you will. And I think that some of these things we have to experience for ourselves. I know that when I gave up dairy, I felt a whole lot of changes that felt better for me. And that's why it's personal. Because if I tell you today, like, you shouldn't eat the paneer that they're serving, no, of course you're going to eat it. You know, but I think it is going back to thinking about what is the source. Can I do better with that? You know, your question on the dogs, can we take it outside? Maybe we can chat. Yeah, thank you.
Good.
Hi, Rekha. Very thought-provoking. It kind of left me a bit confused also in some aspects. I'm going to ask you that. You know, when it comes to social impact, you know, when you say milk or chicken or eggs, it's run by cooperatives. So you've multiple, Amul is a classic example. We are in a milk business at Godrej. We are in a chicken business. it's all through cooperatives, and that's all related to rural incomes. It's also related to the livelihoods of rural people. They have nothing else but animals to, sell or raise stuff. So what happens, where do we draw a line in terms of the social impact and this very important aspect? It has an impact on livelihoods, it has an impact on the GDP, and when you go on to say that plant-based proteins, again then the ESG aspect comes in because the water consumption is higher. So where does this end? I mean, because it's firing from all sides. That's left me confused.
Yeah. I'm happy to share some statistics with you outside of here, just because I don't have a lot of the numbers handy, but just a quick one, at least on the water. Just think about how much an animal has to eat in order to grow, in order to give you the food that you're eating. Think about plants. In that same manner,
Rice crop consumes 4 times more water than chicken. That's the statistics. Rice as well as rice or sugarcane.
I would definitely argue that statistic, but let's get the actual facts out, because just look at the size of a cow. How much does it weigh? 700 kilos? They're huge. Some of them weigh 1 ton, like the bigger ones, the big buffaloes. Look at how much they have to eat. So crops are being grown to feed them, to get them to that size so that they can feed us. So if you think about it, it's actually counterintuitive in some senses, right? So when it comes to the animal-based livelihoods, this is again something that the government pushes. And like I said, I just answered earlier, a lot of these people dump their animals. They just don't keep them any longer because they're not able to feed them. They can't even feed themselves. Crops are failing. There goes their income. So animals that are meant to improve their livelihoods are becoming a burden, and so they end up killing them. So you're right that it's funnily a chicken and egg situation.
And in a country which is 70% agriculture, I mean, so that's a country which is the biggest livelihood is agriculture. I mean, where do you draw the line was the question. I mean, I'm sure, I agree with you in terms of, the cruelty is a bad aspect and stuff.
I think that's why we are working with policy on a plant-forward policy. What does that look like? Because it has to come from all directions. We are too far in to just pull back. There is no quick fix at all.
Hi ma'am, my name is Krishna and I have one question for you. Mainstream culture and media usually have that narratives about animal welfare which are often associated with just veganism or vegetarianism or about consumption of food choices. But what other narratives shall we as PR personalities and media should develop that goes beyond just food choices? So that media, so that animal welfare is more associated with more bigger audience, even though they are food choices are not related with it.
So our campaign is focused on compassion because we believe that people are by nature compassionate. And literally that compassion is beaten out of us through our existence by various means. But at some point it will tie down to food. And I mentioned that example of cruelty-free products like cosmetics and things like that. People are so much quicker to embrace that. Have you thought about why? Why? Can somebody say why it's easier to embrace cruelty-free cosmetics but not think about farmed animals in that manner? It's spoken about. You all are talking about it. PR folks have, no, I didn't mean everybody in this room, but PR is an industry. You work with companies who do all of this. So awareness is where it begins, and that is our goal. Like I said, our aim is not to blame and shame, but it is to unify voices, and it is to raise awareness, and this needs to go beyond the movement, beyond the animal welfare movement.
Rekha, first of all, this is me, Seema here, we just met. First of all, I wanted to congratulate you for bringing in such an important topic into this forum. and also your strategy of first creating awareness at the consumer level. But I think one important piece that you didn't really talk about, you may be doing it already, is how do you really engage with the regulator? We know that all food items have to be certified by FSSAI, and they have guidelines for, as you said, cruelty-free, for cosmetics, they say that not tried on animals, etc. So why is it not possible to have guidelines for raising animals in the farm? And why can't we have an audit process? So just as you need certification, I represent farmer. So I know that, we have very, very stringent regulatory compliance issues which we need to comply with. We need to have surprise audits and certification. So anything you're doing in that direction, because I think you'll have to have a two-way approach, right? One is creating awareness at the consumer level, but also have regulatory guidelines in place so that we really see something happening in this direction. Your thoughts, please.
So guidelines do exist. It's just that they're not enforced. There are animal welfare standards which are not the greatest, but they are there. But they're not enforced and there's nobody to check it because of the problem that he set up. Because animal-based livelihoods forms the biggest source of revenue, or supposedly the biggest source of revenue for our farmers. And the more stringent you are with the guidelines, the lesser the revenue will be. Because the simple fact is you can't have 10 animals in a space where you can only actually have 3. And that literally drives the entire conversation. So inspection is, you know how inspection happens in India anyway. You can buy your way out of anything. So we are engaging, and there are a lot of organizations already in India. So India Animal Fund plays the role of a backbone organization, which means that we're not implementers, but we take a stepped back approach, which allows us to identify interventions that need to happen. An animal welfare organization, which is on the ground, has no time. They're just caring for the animals. So we work with folks who are in policy. We work with people who are working in sustainability. We work with people who are doing alternative proteins, lab manufactured meat, plant-based meats. I don't know if you all have heard of this company called Good Dot. They've come up with all sorts of things. They've just recently tied up with Haldiram's. Soya chaat, that's a big one. All Haldiram's outlets are going to carry it. So for people who like the texture of meat, there are options that are coming up. So we are working in policy with companies, with animal protection itself, and on this campaign to hit the consumer also.
I'm just going to wrap up with one observation. I run an organic farm that also doubles up as a place for animals. We grow about 15 different varieties of animals. But I have to tell you, it's incredibly expensive just maintaining them. So I completely empathize with a fellow farmer who's trying to make ends meet. It's just physically not possible. Yeah, something's really funny there. Yeah. It's incredibly difficult for farmers to do that. So your point is that raise animals for meat, but do them humanely is the point you're trying to make?
I mean, that's one of the points. I would also say that as a consumer, you can make certain choices too. Like you can say that, you know what, I'll try going like plant-based 1 day a week to start with. There are so many programs out there. You might have heard of this organization, Veganuary. They encourage people to go vegan just in January because, October, November, December, people say it's like a long weekend. You're just partying, something or the other keeps happening, festivals, Christmas, New Year. So they say, you know what, you've had like 3 months of excess, go vegan for 1 month. Like that, there are many other organizations. There's somebody that we work with called Green Tuesday. They run initiatives in companies, so in cafeterias in large organizations. They serve plant-based meals 1 day a week. So you can make small changes like that and see for yourself how your body actually responds to it. And if it doesn't come from a place of compassion, maybe it'll come from, monitoring diabetes and cholesterol levels. That's one way to look at it.
There you go. Fantastic. Thanks so much, Rekha, Sharmistha, for a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you.